The pediatric ward at Denver's hospital was never wrapped in silence, not even on Christmas Eve night. The sound of machines from down the hallway and the occasional small voices of children reached Margaret Thompson's ears. She was a pediatric nurse, affectionately called Meg, making her rounds through each patient room as the final task of her 16-hour shift. "Do you think Santa will come tonight?" 7-year-old Emily looked up at Meg, pressing her small head, hair lost to leukemia treatment, against the pillow. Meg knelt down to meet Emily's eye level. "I'm sure he will. I heard that Santa especially remembers the children in hospitals." Meg pulled out a pink teddy bear she had purchased with her own salary and gently placed it in Emily's arms. A smile returned to the little girl's face. For moments like this, Meg spent most of her Christmas bonus each year on gifts for the children. Her colleagues sometimes told her, "You should save that money for your family," but for Meg, these hospital children were the most precious beings in her life. When she stepped out of the hospital entrance, Denver's cold winter air stung her skin. Snow was beginning to fall, and the city was wrapped in Christmas's warm lights. Meg got into her car and checked her smartphone. There was a message from her colleague Kate Johnson. "Meg, it's not too late. Come to Christmas dinner at my house. My family wants to meet you too." Meg smiled as she replied, "Thank you, but I'm spending time with my family this year. I'll visit you next year." In reality, Meg hadn't been able to spend Christmas with her family for the past 5 years. Due to the nature of her nursing profession, holiday shifts were often unavoidable, and emergencies frequently occurred in pediatrics. Last Christmas too, she couldn't attend the family dinner because she was caring for a critically ill patient. Her mother Patricia blamed her, saying, "You only care about work and don't value family," and her sister Sophia complained on social media, "My sister always makes excuses." But this year was different. Meg had requested today off 3 months ago and continued to decline when colleagues asked her to cover for them. The thought that this year, "I want to spend Christmas with my family," drove her forward. Last week, her mother Patricia had called. "Meg, we'll make this year's Christmas special. Let's make roast beef using your father's recipe," she said in an unusually gentle voice. Meg's biological father had died of a heart attack when she was 20, and his homemade roast beef was one of the family's most precious memories. Since her mother remarried 5 years ago, her father was rarely mentioned, but this proposal warmed Meg's heart. A message had also arrived from her sister Sophia. She was a lifestyle influencer with 100,000 followers, living a glamorous life on social media with financial support from her stepfather, Richard Baker. "I'm going to make your favorite apple pie properly this year. Sorry, I couldn't make it last year," the message said, and Meg was genuinely pleased. The car's navigation announced, 10 minutes to destination. Meg headed toward the upscale residential area in Denver's suburbs where her family home was located. This house, purchased by her stepfather Richard, was incomparably more luxurious than the old house where Meg had grown up. However, Meg still couldn't feel it was truly a home. As she drove through the snowy night roads, Meg looked forward to tonight's family time with all her heart. The fatigue from her long day at the hospital seemed to fade away with the joy of being able to spend time with her family. In the car, Meg hummed softly, a Christmas carol her father used to sing. When she parked in front of her family home, Meg noticed something unexpected. Her stepfather's luxury car, which should have been parked in the driveway, was nowhere to be seen. Only her mother's car sat alone in the snow. She must have gone out for last-minute shopping, Meg thought. As she walked toward the entrance, her heart swelled with love and anticipation for her family. Meg reached for the front door handle. But the door wouldn't open. Confused, she tried again, but it was definitely locked. The front door had never been locked during family gatherings before, especially when they knew Meg was coming. "That's strange," Meg murmured as she took her cell phone out of her bag. She called her mother Patricia, and after 3 rings, a cheerful voice answered. "Meg? You're here already? Mom, the front door seems to be locked. Where is everyone? Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention. Last month, Richard enhanced our security. There have been a lot of break-ins in this area lately. The spare key is under the large planter by the front door, use that." Patricia's voice was oddly bright, and in the background, Meg could hear people talking and the sound of dishes. Meg frowned. What's that noise? Is everyone home? Oh, that's the TV. We're watching a Christmas movie. Come in quickly, you must be cold. The call ended. Meg stared at her phone, feeling uneasy. Her mother's voice lacked its usual warmth and seemed hurried. However, as the cold was penetrating her bones, Meg searched under the planter. Indeed, there was a spare key, shiny like it was brand new. When she opened the front door, the house was wrapped in silence. She couldn't hear the TV. Meg called out as she took off her shoes. I'm home. There was no response. When she headed to the living room, no one was there. The TV was off, and there were no signs that anyone had been sitting on the sofa. The first wave of anxiety swept through Meg's heart. When she entered the dining room, Meg gasped. The table was indeed beautifully decorated. On a deep red tablecloth, golden candlesticks and crystal glasses were arranged. A bouquet of Christmas roses was placed in the center, surrounded by small bells and pine needles. But something was fundamentally wrong. There were only 3 place settings on the table. Meg looked around the table in confusion. Settings for her mother Patricia, her sister Sophia, and her stepfather Richard, that was all. There was no 4th place setting. As if there had never been a family of 4 to begin with. When she went to the kitchen, an even stranger scene unfolded. On the counter sat bags from Whole Foods. Peering inside, she found all the ingredients needed for her father's roast beef recipe: high-quality beef, fresh herbs, red wine. But everything remained unopened, as if someone had just returned from shopping and left the house before starting to cook. Opening the refrigerator, she found containers from Delmar's Catering, a high-end catering company. Roast chicken, gravy, cranberry sauce, and colorful vegetable sides, all prepared and ready to heat. The roast beef from her father's recipe that Meg had been eagerly anticipating was nowhere to be found. On the kitchen counter were also the ingredients for the apple pie that Sophia had promised to make by hand: apples, cinnamon, flour, butter. But these two were completely untouched. Instead, there was a box with the same catering company's logo, containing a perfectly finished chocolate cake. Meg sighed deeply. Once again this year, her family's promises were not kept. But something was different from before. This time it was clearly intentional. They had bought ingredients, set the table, yet actually made nothing and gone somewhere else. Returning to the dining table, Meg noticed a white envelope next to the central bouquet. To Meg was written on the envelope in beautiful cursive Sophia's handwriting. Meg picked up the envelope and took out a folded card. The card's surface had last year's Christmas photo of the family of 4 printed on it. But only Meg's face was covered with a white sticker. Opening the card, messages were written in each of their handwriting. First was Patricia's neat script, to Meg. We are enjoying a lovely Christmas dinner at a Silver Spoon. Make good use of your alone time. There's catered food in the refrigerator, warm it up and eat. Please let us know your plans a bit earlier next year. With love, Mother. Next was Sophia's round handwriting. We're trying out a new restaurant. So many Instagram-worthy dishes. I'm taking lots of photos, so I'll show you later. Enjoy yourself alone. From Sophia. Last was Richard's bold script. Meg, your dedication to work is admirable, but you should also value time with family. We judged that you wouldn't be able to come and made other plans. I trust you'll understand. Richard. Meg's hands began to tremble. She read the card's contents over and over, but the meaning didn't change. Her family had intentionally excluded her and was enjoying Christmas dinner at an upscale restaurant. Her efforts to take today off 3 months in advance and decline covering for colleagues last year to make time for family had been completely ignored. Meg sank onto the sofa and placed the card on her lap. The room's silence enveloped her. No fire burned in the fireplace, and only the Christmas tree lights illuminated the room. Outside, snow was beginning to fall harder, and she could hear it hitting the windows. Her phone notification sounded. It was a notification from Sophia's Instagram. Meg tapped the screen and looked at her sister's latest post. There was a photo of the family of three toasting against the luxurious interior of a Silver Spoon restaurant. Patricia wore a pearl necklace, Sophia held a champagne glass high, and Richard smiled contentedly. Meg put down her phone and stared at the card again. The letters looked blurred. Tears began to flow down her cheeks. For 35 years, she had always devoted herself to her family. She had dedicated her life to helping people as a nurse and endured criticism from her family. But tonight, she understood what she truly meant to this family. Meg stood up and went to the kitchen. She took the catered food from the refrigerator and warmed it in the microwave. She arranged a single serving on a small table and began to eat quietly. The food was certainly delicious. But its taste didn't reach her heart. After finishing her meal, Meg returned to the dining room. The beautifully decorated table, 3 place settings, and the cold message to her everything told her the same thing. She was no longer a necessary presence in this family. Meg held the card from her family and read the cold words over and over. The reality that her feelings, having requested time off 3 months ago and genuinely looking forward to family time, were being treated as worthless deeply wounded her heart. Suddenly, her phone notifications began ringing continuously. Looking at the screen, she saw live stream notifications from Sophia's Instagram. Usually, Meg showed no interest in her sister's broadcasts, but tonight she had a bad feeling and tapped the screen. The screen showed the luxurious interior of Silver Spoon restaurant, with colorful course dishes arranged on the table. The camera showed Sophia's face up close, and she was speaking to viewers with an excited expression. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a special live stream. Actually, my sister is home alone right now. We thought she wouldn't participate in Christmas dinner again this year, so we decided to eat out by ourselves. Comments from viewers began flowing across the side of the screen. Isn't that terrible? But she's family? Sounds interesting though. Various reactions could be seen. The camera turned to her mother Patricia. She elegantly tilted her wine glass while smiling gracefully. Meg works really admirably as a nurse. But she always puts family second. Last year's Christmas, the year before's Thanksgiving, my birthday, she didn't come to any of them, using work as an excuse. Patricia's voice contained clear dissatisfaction despite showing superficial understanding. She continued, this time too, she said, this year for sure, but it's work again, isn't it? So we decided to enjoy ourselves. As a mother, I respect my daughter's work ethic, but I can't understand her attitude of treating family commitments lightly. Meg gripped her phone with trembling hands. Her mother's words were complete lies. Today, Meg had rushed to her family after finishing a 16-hour shift, even declining urgent requests from colleagues to cover shifts. The family knew very well that she had requested today off 3 months ago. Richard appeared in front of the camera. He was dressed in an expensive suit and began speaking with a confident expression. Sophia, I'm really impressed by your creativity. This prank project is a wonderful idea. I hope Meg will understand the importance of family through this. Richard continued with slight sarcasm, young women today tend to focus only on their careers and neglect family bonds. Work is certainly important, but nothing should be more precious than blood family. I hope tonight's experience will help Meg reconsider her priorities. Comments flowing across the screen began increasingly criticizing the family. This is too cruel, unacceptable as family, nurses contribute to society, this influencer is the worst. However, the three at the restaurant didn't seem to notice the change in the comments yet. Sophia turned the camera back to herself. But actually, I'm expected to reach 1 million followers with this. Everyone, thank you for sharing this stream. She clapped her hands in delight. Right now, Meg must be reading the card alone and feeling lonely. I wonder what face she's making. She must be shocked. At that moment, Meg noticed a small red light blinking in the corner of the room. At first, she thought it was a heating system indicator, but looking closer, it was clearly a different type of light. Meg stood up and approached the light. Behind the bookshelf was a palm-sized small device hidden, a spy camera. The red lamp indicated it was recording. Meg's heart began pounding violently. Her family had been secretly filming her reaction and using it as entertainment. Meg looked straight at the spy camera. Beyond the lens were probably thousands of viewers. And the family at the restaurant would now know that Meg had discovered the camera. In the live stream on her phone, Sophia suddenly became excited. Oh. Look. Meg found the camera. The restaurant table fell silent for a moment. Patricia spoke up in a flustered voice. Oh my, she found the camera already. That's earlier than expected. Richard cleared his throat. Well, I thought she'd notice eventually. Meg slowly held up the card from her family in front of the camera. Then, as if carefully reading each letter, she confirmed the card's contents. So that the cold words written on this card would be clearly conveyed to the viewers and to her family. Then, Meg quietly tore the card in half. Next, she tore it in half again. Only the sound of paper pieces scattering to the floor echoed in the silent room. On the live stream screen, the three at the restaurant were shown gasping. Meg stood in front of the camera and looked straight into the lens. There were tears in her eyes, but her voice was surprisingly quiet and strong. Merry Christmas. After saying those words, Meg smiled for just a moment. It was a complex expression containing sadness, anger, and liberation from something. Goodbye. Meg looked away from the camera and began walking toward the entrance. As her footsteps echoed in the hallway, panicked voices from the family at the restaurant could be heard from the phone's live stream. Meg, wait. Sophia's voice came from the screen, but Meg didn't look back anymore. As she put on her shoes at the entrance, Meg saw the presents she had prepared for her family tonight. A high-quality silk scarf for Patricia, a designer wallet that Sophia had wanted, and fine wine for Richard were wrapped and placed there. Meg hesitated for a moment but decided to leave the presents behind. Outside, the snow had become even heavier. Thick snow had accumulated on Meg's car windshield. She started the car engine and put it in drive. After looking at her family home one last time in the rearview mirror, she began driving quietly through the snow. In her heart, something was ending, and something was about to begin. As Meg drove through the snow, tears flowed quietly down her cheeks. Only the monotonous rhythm of the wipers clearing snow provided any comfort to her confused heart. She didn't really know where she was heading. She only knew for certain that she was getting away from that house. Her phone rang. Meg hesitated for a moment, but when she checked the caller, Kate Johnson's name appeared. She was a hospital colleague and one of Meg's most trusted friends. Meg answered hands-free. Meg. Are you okay? Kate's worried voice filled the car. Kate? Why are you calling? Actually, I was watching Sophia's live stream. A nurse friend who follows your sister told me about it. Meg, where are you now? Are you alone? Meg was surprised. She hadn't expected Kate to be watching Sophia's stream. I'm in my car. I just left the house. Come to my house right now. I can't leave you alone. Kate's voice was filled with strong determination. I'll send you the address, put it in your GPS. It's dangerous, so focus on driving. Meg tried to protest, but Kate wouldn't listen. There's no room for argument. My whole family is waiting for you. Come right now. The call ended, and immediately Kate sent a text message with her address. Meg hesitated a little, but she had nowhere else to go. Her heart felt too heavy to return to her own apartment. She entered the address into navigation and headed to Kate's house. 30 minutes later, Meg arrived in front of Kate's house in a quiet residential area in Colorado Springs. The yard was decorated for Christmas, and warm light leaked from the windows. It was exactly the scene of a typical American family Christmas. When she got out of the car, the front door immediately opened. Kate ran out and hugged Meg tightly. I'm so glad you came. Everything's going to be okay, now. Kate's warm embrace brought tears to Meg's eyes again. The loneliness and pain of betrayal she had felt these past few hours suddenly surfaced with her friend's kindness. Inside the house, Kate's parents, Robert and Martha, welcomed her warmly. They accepted Meg as if she were family. "Meg, Kate has told us about you. Please spend tonight as a member of our family," Martha said with a gentle smile. In the living room, a traditional Christmas tree was decorated, and logs burned in the fireplace. Hand-knitted blankets were placed on the sofa, and homemade cookies were arranged on the coffee table. The entire room was filled with family love. "Actually, Kate's brother David is here tonight too," Kate explained. "I wanted to introduce you to him." Just then, a man's voice came from the kitchen. "Kate, I brought the extra chair." A tall man with kind eyes appeared, indeed carrying a folding chair. "Meg, this is my brother David." "David, this is Meg, who we're always grateful to at the hospital." David set down the chair and walked toward Meg. "Nice to meet you, Meg. Kate always talks about you. Your dedicated work in pediatrics is truly wonderful." Meg felt her heart lighten a little at his warm smile. "Nice to meet you too. I'm sorry for suddenly intruding tonight." "Not at all. Having our family grow is a joyful thing." David's words were sincere. At dinner, Meg told them about tonight's events in detail. The Johnson family listened quietly, occasionally showing expressions of anger or sympathy. Martha especially shook her head repeatedly while listening to Meg's story. "I can't believe such family exists. Blood relation alone doesn't make a family." Robert agreed. "Family should be a relationship where people cherish and support each other. Blood relation is merely a starting point." After dinner, David began telling Meg about his activities. "Actually, I run an NPO called a Hope Kitchen. We provide warm meals to homeless people and economically struggling families." Meg showed interest. "That's wonderful work. How is it operated?" "It's mainly supported by volunteers. Cooking, serving, cleaning, everything is helped by kind-hearted people from the community. Especially on holidays like Christmas, many people feel lonely, so we try to create not just meal service but a warm community space." Kate added, "David was working at a corporation, but he quit 3 years ago to dedicate himself to this activity. I really respect him." Meg was moved. "On nights like tonight, many people must need help." "Exactly. Actually, tomorrow, on Christmas Day, we're planning to hold a special dinner event. If you'd like, would you help us? Your experience as a nurse would surely be encouraging to the participants." Meg thought for a moment before answering. "I'd love to participate. Tonight, I was made to think about the true meaning of family. I learned that caring hearts are much more important than blood relations." The next day, Christmas Day, Meg participated in volunteer activities at Hope Kitchen. The basement hall of an old church had been transformed into a warm dining room by the volunteers' hands. Homemade food was arranged on tables, and heartfelt service was provided to each participant. Meg was mainly in charge of caring for children. Children who came with parents, children from facilities, children with various backgrounds. In this place, they all showed smiles equally. Meg's pediatric experience was fully utilized, and the children quickly grew fond of her. "Sister, when will you come again?" 8-year-old Emma asked, holding Meg's hand. "I'll come again. I promise," Meg answered with a smile. David was impressed by Meg's work. "Meg, you're a natural volunteer. It's rare for children to take to someone like this." After that day's activities ended, David made a proposal to Meg. "If you'd like, would you regularly participate in Hope Kitchen activities? As an official volunteer coordinator?" Meg answered without hesitation. "Please let me. Being here, I feel truly needed." Several months later, Meg and David launched a new project called Holiday Heart. This was an activity that provided warm community to people feeling lonely throughout the year. Not just Christmas, but Thanksgiving, New Year, Valentine's Day, and even ordinary weekends, they created places where people could gather to share meals and support each other. The project attracted attention from local media and eventually developed into a nationwide activity. Meg continued her work as a nurse while becoming a co-founder of Holiday Heart, giving speeches across the United States. One autumn, a year later, David proposed to Meg. Their wedding became a heartwarming ceremony blessed by people they had met at Hope Kitchen. Their blood relatives didn't attend, but the people surrounding them were all connected by true family bonds. In her new life, Meg learned what true happiness was. It wasn't about luxurious meals or grand houses, but about the bonds of hearts that care for and support each other. And she learned that family isn't something you're born with, but something you build through love. 6 months after the Holiday Heart Project achieved national success, Meg received an unexpected contact one afternoon. It was from her sister Sophia. Meg was a little surprised, but agreed to meet at a small cafe in downtown Denver. Sophia, who appeared at the appointed time, had lost her former glamour. Though she wore expensive brand clothing, exhaustion and confusion could be seen in her expression. The two sat facing each other in awkward silence. "Thank you for coming." Sophia's voice was small, completely different from her previously confident way of speaking. Meg answered quietly, "It's been a while, Sophia." "How have you been?" Sophia began speaking while looking down. "Actually, everything changed after that night's live stream. At first, I was happy that my follower count increased, but soon it became a storm of criticism. I started being called a family bullying influencer, and sponsor contracts were cancelled one after another." She lifted her coffee cup with trembling hands. "Mom is having a hard time too. She started being gossiped about in social circles as the mother who abandoned her daughter, and she can't maintain her previous position anymore. Richard's company is starting to be affected too. Business partners are saying they can't deal with companies whose family values are questionable." Meg listened to Sophia's story with complicated feelings. Rather than satisfaction from revenge, she felt more sadness. "Help me," tears welled up in Sophia's eyes. "Every time I hear you talking on TV about the true meaning of family, I understand how wrong we were. But is it too late now?" Meg was silent for a long time. Then she spoke quietly. "Sophia, do you remember what you all did to me? I took time off 3 months in advance and was genuinely looking forward to family time, but you used me as a tool for entertainment. You even set up a hidden camera to make my sadness into a laughingstock." Sophia covered her face and began crying. "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. At that time, I just wanted to increase my follower count and didn't think about your feelings at all. But now I have a new family," Meg continued. "People who don't share blood with me but truly cherish each other from the heart. I can't find a reason to return to that house anymore." Sophia looked at Meg with a desperate expression. "Then can we never become a real family again?" Meg stood up and picked up her bag. "Becoming family requires more than just apologies. It starts with respecting, supporting, and loving each other. But I don't think it's ever too late to learn that. However, that's only when you have the determination to change yourselves." Before leaving the cafe, Meg turned around. "If you truly want to change, start by examining your own actions. And instead of trying to elevate yourselves by hurting others, learn to grow by helping someone." 2 years later, on Christmas, Meg received a national award as Philanthropist of the Year. The awards ceremony was held at a prestigious venue in Washington, D.C., with people involved in charitable activities from across the nation gathering. Meg's figure giving a speech on stage was confident and radiant with happiness. True family isn't determined by blood relations. It's created by the connections of hearts that care for, support, and above all, love each other. The venue was wrapped in silence, and many people were moved by Meg's words. "I learned this truth through difficult experiences. And now, I have a true family that transcends blood relations. Everyone involved in the Holiday Heart Project, my husband David, and all the people I've met through this activity are my family." During her speech, Meg spotted 3 figures in a corner of the venue. Her mother Patricia, sister Sophia, and stepfather Richard. They didn't have their former glamour, but they were seriously listening to Meg's speech. Meg hesitated for a moment but continued her speech without looking at them. "I want to show understanding rather than anger toward those who hurt me in the past. Because true growth begins with forgiveness. However, forgiving doesn't mean returning to the same relationship as before." After the awards ceremony ended, Meg left the venue hand in hand with David. Her expression, walking with her new family, held the deep peace and joy that only those who have overcome past pain can possess. That night, the two spent a quiet Christmas Eve at their own home. By the fireplace, Meg leaned against David and said, "I'm truly happy. I was able to learn the meaning of real family." David gently embraced his wife. "The family we've built is based on love and respect. That's what matters most." Outside the window, snow began falling quietly, as if blessing their new life, wrapping the world in white. Meg was deeply grateful. That painful Christmas Eve had led to her current happiness. And she deeply understood that true family is something built by choice.